lack of specialized investigative units. There are no obstacles in Germany, Romania, Hungary, Lithuania, and others. And you will see Italy also, including moderate and serious. France, we don't have the data about France, sorry. The different colors give you the idea of how fragmented are the different reactions or the different situations. And this is legislation. There is no obstacles, yellow, low with incoming countries, so the new countries which entered in the United Europe, Romania and Bulgaria, Czech Republic. UK is different. Legislation is quite different. It's a common law legislation, and there are many differences about legislation in the common European Union. Now we go to inadequate follow-up of investigative techniques. Once again, these are perceived obstacles against the investigation. And you will see that, once again, there is not one color, but there are many different colors according to the perceived obstacles against this kind of form of investigative techniques. The second item is about international cooperation. The European Union is trying to enforce and strengthen international cooperation, and the main issues of international cooperation are language difficulties, lack of common definition, delay of responses to requests for assistance, lack of human material resources within units specialized in the investigation of extortion, racketeering, or could be organized crime in general, lack of specialized investigative units. Let me see how it works. Once again, perceived obstacles against international cooperation. Item number one, language difficulties. We do speak at least 11 different languages, and you can understand how difficult it is to cooperate among law enforcement agencies in Europe. Also, if you do have Europol, which is a hub connecting the different desks represented in The Hague. But still, countries do have difficulties in terms of regulations, understanding each other, implementing international cooperation. And lack of a common definition. One of the strong works which has been done in the European Union is try to have one common definition on organized crime. You know, it's a very flexible definition, so difficult that sometimes interpretations are different. And this is the results when a common definition, especially in practicing or implementing law enforcement policies, comes out. You see that the dark color of UK does not mean that UK does not have any policy relating to organized crime. It's dark also in the legislation. The differences at this level could create some problems. Delay of responses to requests of assistance. We counted in this report the time which was put from one country to respond to the other country to the request of assistance. And Spain, Czech Republic, Estonia were putting more time than other countries. Sometimes it's really strange, but the newcomers, such as Romania, Hungary, and Latvia, put less time than others. And we go back to another issue, which is lack of human material resources in terms of having international cooperation. South part of Europe has some problems about. and we have been counting how much money they do devote to international cooperation and implementing international cooperation, and this is a map of the differences in lacking human or material resources. One issue was to have a specialized unit, investigative unit. And once again, the difference in legislation with UK and the difference in common definition is producing some effect also in having investigative units. And after you go there and look to Bulgaria, Greece, and others. Well, one issue of this report and of analyzing organized crime is using extortion as an indicator of the structure of organized crime groups and their relationships with the territory. The main hypothesis is that there is a relationship between territory and organized crime. In some areas of Europe, there is not. In some other areas of Europe, in the south part of Europe, there is a strong relationship between organized crime and territory. And if you look to the infiltration of organized crime in the legitimate economy, which is quite a follow-up of the action of organized crime in the criminal activities, you will see that this link between organized crime and territory is crucial. It's crucial for the exchanging of favors between political class, for example, and votes. So politicians give contracts and they receive in exchange votes. Organized crime is controlling the territory, is reducing the employment, is finding jobs, and in finding jobs is doing a favor of politicians. Once again, this kind of link between territory and organized crime, as I said before, it's crucial for the development of organized crime, but also using the instruments of corruption and violence for the development of the territory where organized crime is insisting. So these relationships, it's useful for many researchers to explain the structure also of organized crime groups. And you will see that this structure, also if there is a continuum between hierarchical and network, using extortion as an indicator of the structuring of organized crime, you will see that where you have a hierarchical structure, as in Italy, you have an extended level of extortion that we can call a systemic level of extortion and protection, and you will find the same thing in the Baltic or in Eastern Europe and Romania and Bulgaria. And when you have a network structure, much more flexible, you will find a sporadic level of extortion. So extortion becomes a discriminant, at least for researchers, to understand where we are. It's not, of course, normative or mandatory, but it's a good key to interpret the structure of organized crime. And it is good key to interpret what are the level on which the organized crime groups are acting. We have local organized crime groups, we have foreign organized crime groups, and we have, an example of Europe, terrorist separatist groups, such as in Corsica or in Spain, and we have a private protection organization, such as in Eastern European countries. It's always very, very difficult to give a name when we put under the umbrella of serious organized crime, if these are serious or not. The word serious has been used when UK got this new agency of serious organized crime, SOCA, but today serious is coming together with many other adjectives to organized crime. We are quite confused if organized crimes could be transnational, could be serious, or could be serious and transnational. The word is becoming very flexible, and we are putting inside this word everything. And probably in the next 10 or 5 years, we need to find some other solutions for interpreting this concept, which is really an evolving concept. By the way, today still we do have local, we do have foreign, we have terrorist separatist groups who we don't know how to call them, and we have a private protection organization which are much more in the legitimate market than in the criminal market. A second step in our research was to find, using extortion and the criteria of different organizations, the vulnerability of 27 EU member states to extortion racketeering. And we assessed the level of vulnerability, which is a function of two main factors. One is the seriousness of the phenomenon. Second is the countermeasures which have been implemented by different bodies. And you will see the results, which means this is the risk of vulnerability of 27 member states, which means more do they have in terms of organized crime, and less they react, more vulnerable they are. Now we are at Italian level. This was a long introduction to a long conclusion, but I will stop on 1635, which helps me to outline these three Italian organizations named Mafia in Sicily, 'Ndrangheta in Calabria, and Camorra in Campania. There is a fourth one, La Sacra Corona Unita, which is quite heavily influenced by the two organizations, which are Camorra and 'Ndrangheta. Well, I'm born in Sicily, and it's really not strange, but there should be a factor that has put me in studying Italian organized crime. And I remember when I was in the United States 20 years ago, being a Sicilian means really La Cosa Nostra. At that time, La Cosa Nostra was a priority in the United States for FBI. Today, I'm sorry, as a Sicilian to say, I'm sorry, that La Cosa Nostra, or at least Italian Sicilian Mafia, is no more a priority in terms of organized crime groups. It's part of old photo, and today we need to recolor once again what is going on in the world. What is the role of La Cosa Nostra, or mainly what is the role of Sicilian Mafia? Also because we need to distinguish between the role that the Sicilian Mafia had in the United States and the role that Sicilian Mafia has in Italy today, or has in Australia, in many other countries. These are becoming quite independent organizations, also if they really belong to the same name. The same thing for 'Ndrangheta and Camorra. And sometimes we do the mistake believing that we have a very international Camorra, a very international 'Ndrangheta. Sometimes they are, sometimes they are not. This is the typical phenomenon of organizations which have been following the migration path on the region. They have developed in the country where they arrived, they set up there, they grow as an independent organization. Not always what is 'Ndrangheta today in Italy is automatically the same 'Ndrangheta in Australia or somewhere else. But there is some relationships.